Part 2, Chapter 9, February 1979, 6 years later. The SEPTA bus rumbled down Girard, turning onto Lancaster before Vernon pulled over to stop to pick up a couple of passengers. His regular passengers stepped on, paid their fare, and he pulled off, headed for Central City. "Hello, Vernon," spoke an older woman named Ella, who used to live in their neighborhood. "How's your mom?"
"She's doing well. She's planning to move to Florida. She's tired of the winters up here. Once she got a little taste of the South, she was hooked."
"I can't blame her. Hey, are you still singing?" That question caught him off guard. It had been 6 years since he and the guys last recorded any music. 1973, in fact. The company Preston Records folded in 1975, and nobody had heard anything of Mr. Patton or Ben Jefferson. Tommy had never received his royalty payments for the song he had written that was titled Songwriter. He had even heard a few people sampling the song and covering it, but they had not seen a dime from the work they put in. Vernon realized at that moment that he hadn't totally gotten over the pain of what Fidel had done to them. But the experience of their friendship and working relationship was cherished forever. Those were fun times, despite the way they were treated. Midnight Velvet wasn't just a group, it was a brotherhood.
"Well, no. I sing in the shower, though."
"I can't hear you then. You boys are so talented. Have you heard from the others?"
"Herb and I hang out often. Clyde moved to D.C., so I don't see him that often, and long-distance phone calls can get pretty expensive."
"What about that smooth-sounding boy, the young one? What was his name?"
Tommy. He still lives in Virginia."
"Oh, so he moved out of Philly, too."
"Yeah, he went to Dominion, and when he graduated, he got his master's and stayed down there."
"Oh, good for him. Do you hear from him?"
"Not that often, but he and Clyde have more contact. They're closer as far as location."
"Well, Dad, that would make sense. It would be so nice if y'all made a comeback. I so miss y'all music." She said that with way more gumption than he felt.
"Miss Ella, I cannot even imagine that happening,"
he said, pulling over to let off a few passengers. Vernon was going on 29 years old. Unless he was already signed to a label, there was no way anyone would sign him at this age. "I heard you got 2 more children."
"Yes, 3 daughters now. Shauna is 5, and Tanisha and Kanisha are 3.
"Oh, wow. Twins?"
"Yes, ma'am."
He continued maneuvering the huge vehicle around the corner. The bus had arrived downtown, where it emptied. "Oh, congratulations." She stood and headed for the door.
"Miss Ella?"
"Yes." She turned back to him.
"It was nice seeing you. I'll let my mom know I saw you."
"Well, give her my number. Tell her to call me." She pulled out a pen and wrote down her number and handed it to him. "Now, you make sure you give her that and tell her to call me here."
"Yes, ma'am."
At the end of the day, Vernon left his bus in the bus yard and headed to his car, a 1978 Chevrolet Impala. He had been thinking about purchasing a van. Life was comfortable for him. He made enough to support his family. He and his girls took yearly trips out of town, and everyone was fed. He arrived home, a modest 2-story home in Westchester, a suburb right outside of Philadelphia. He had moved out of the inner city 2 years ago. Years of putting in overtime at work afforded him the ability to live in such a neighborhood. He pulled into the driveway and could hear someone inside yell, "Daddy's home!" This day he arrived home at 3 p.m. because he did not put in any overtime. His usual schedule was from 6:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. He had the early morning, early afternoon rush. His regular schedule was Tuesday through Saturday. As soon as he opened the door, three little girls ran to him, each one trying to edge her way to hug him. He held a bag of goodies for the girls. He often stopped on the way home to pick up stuffed animals or treats for them. Jennifer exited the kitchen where she was preparing dinner. Vern, you're spoiling them.
It's all right.
He laughed, showing those defined dimples she loved. They had been together since they were 16. She worked at a bank part-time from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Her mother cared for the girls while she worked. He placed his arms around her, and they locked in a kiss. How was work, honey?
Uneventful.
There were times when he would come home with crazy stories about the folks in Philly who rode the bus. The inner city was getting bad, and that's the reason he did not want to raise his girls there. That's good, and you're all in one piece.
Mm-hmm. How was yours?
I had a fairly decent day today, I must say.
No bank robberies or anything exciting like that? Smells good in here.
He said, following her to the kitchen. Just a little something, something, baked chicken, rice, cornbread, and baked asparagus. Once they sat down for dinner in the dining room, he continued the conversation.
And you are not going to believe who got on my bus this morning.
Who?
Miss Ella.
What? Really? Does she still live in North Philly?
Nuh-uh. She lives off Lancaster Avenue now. That's where she got on at.
Oh, she's in West Philly now? I haven't seen her in a while. She moved before we did.
Yeah, she gave me her number to give to Mom.
I'm sure your mom would love that.
Maybe she'll invite Miss Ella to move to Florida with her.
Vern, I'm still worried about her moving all the way down there.
Girl, my mother raised 4 boys. She's tough, trust me. She'll be okay. She knows how to protect herself.
As he spoke, he headed to the stove and carved himself another piece of cornbread. I wish she would just come and live with us. We have an extra bedroom with its own bathroom and...
Mom ain't doing that. She'll think I'm doing it because I'm trying to get in her business. She ain't doing that.
The truck stopped. Herbert hopped off the running board and grabbed the garbage receptacles on the sidewalk and dumped them. They were further down West Huntington Street, where he lifted a few more cans. They were about to move on when they heard a middle-aged man wearing a suit calling after them. Wait! Herbert looked to his right, a man dragging his can toward the sidewalk. He stood there with his hands on his hips, impatiently waiting for the resident to arrive.
Next time, we moving on.
Herbert said as he dumped the man's trash.
You know your trash should be out Monday night. Monday night, not Tuesday morning.
Hey, ain't you one of the Midnight Velvets? That one-hit wonder group? The man said with the Philly sarcasm that was so common in that area.
No, see, you got it wrong. We was a 3-hit wonder. A 3-hit. And don't you forget,
Herbert held up 3 gloved fingers.
All I know is you ain't no hits now, huh?
all right. All I know is I got air in my lungs, money in my pocket, and I keep your streets clean.
Herbert said as he hopped onto the running board and gave the man another salute and a smile.
Man, can't nobody break your spirit, Herbert.
His co-worker said,
I'm almost 26 years old, man. Got a 4-year-old son. Got no time for clowns and suits. Matter of fact, he probably got that costume from the thrift store. Or better yet, one of the suits my group wore while we toured in the 60s.
His co-worker cracked up laughing. He slapped Herbert on the back. Reginald, the co-worker, sometimes had a few beers with him and Vernon on weekend. Herbert outwardly took comments and insults about his former so-called professional failures on the chin, but inwardly, those comments hurt. He had begun working for the city 2 years ago, and shortly after, his picture appeared in the local paper of him dumping garbage. The headline read, "From Riches to Rags, What Makes a Talented Singer Become a Trash Man?" People did not understand that oftentimes when a group failed, it was not due to a lack of talent. It was mostly lack of promotion and broken promises and hidden terms on the part of the label who owned them. He often thought of the record labels as a type of a plantation, the same way he viewed owners of sports teams. You get out there, do all the work, and the slave owner reaps all the benefits. Never the talent, never the worker, and in their case, never the artist. He and his 3 friends had what it took to make it, but what they did not have was connections. They did not have revenue. Money talked. They did not have power. Just 4 teenage boys from a North Philly neighborhood with dreams, aspirations, and stars in their eyes. He had tried to convince the guys to seek other routes, but after Clyde had been savagely attacked, nobody was really feeling it or even felt it was worth it. Over the next few years, he understood why Vernon, Tommy, and ultimately Clyde decided to move on. Being owned by a label was way more trouble than it was worth. However, Herbert never totally lost the small spark that burned within him. He thought about ways to go independent. He and Marcia, the mother of his son, were not together, but he financially supported his son. He lived in a small apartment on Luzerne and North 5th Street above a small store. It wasn't much, but he was able to save money until he pulled himself up. His father often told him that you had to crawl before you walk. He was a sanitation worker, but his service helped keep people's neighborhoods from smelling bad. And it was honest work. With it came medical benefits, and for him and his son, sick leave and vacation leave, and a paycheck that paid the rent and fed him. But he kept his wits about him, never allowing others' opinions to define him. Once he arrived home, he showered, lit some incense, and lit up a joint before calling Vernon to tell him about the clown that approached him.
Man, oh man. So what did you tell him? I told him we was a 3-hit wonder. Well, you ain't tell no lies though. No, I didn't, did I? You talked to Clyde lately?
Yeah, whenever I have something important to say. Long distance is expensive. I got 3 little ones.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. I don't even have long distance service. If it's out of the 215 area code, it's out of the question.
Oh, and by the way, Miss Ella from the old neighborhood got on my bus a couple of weeks ago. She asked about y'all.
How's she doing?
She's doing well, or it seems.
Good. Hey, you want to hang out Friday night?
Nah, I'll pass. Got work Saturday morning, and Jen and I are going out.
Okay, next time then, man, next time. All right.
The guys hung up. Chapter 11, April 1979. Clyde arrived on M Street at the busy bus yard and was about to pick up his bus when another driver approached him and told him that the supervisor wanted to see him before he started driving. He wondered what this was about. His heart drummed relentlessly as he headed across the premises to the on-site supervisor's office. He had moved to Washington, D.C. back in 1975 when he heard about Metro Rail projects that were taking place. He applied for the job and was hired almost immediately. However, he did not get to work on the project long because he ended up driving the bus. The Metro Rail was launched in 1976.
You wanted to see me, Mr. Griffin?
Clyde said as he stepped into the office.
Yeah, close the door. Have a seat.
Clyde closed the door, and although some of the mechanics and workers could not hear the conversation inside the small, junky office that smelled like motor oil and stale coffee, that did not mean they could not see through the transparent glass that surrounded the place. Clyde locked his hands together and placed them firmly in his lap to harness the nervousness he was feeling. To be only 25, he was doing well. Driving the bus in D.C. offered great salary and benefits. He had no children, and he was able to purchase a small 2-bedroom house on 36th Place Southeast in the Fort Davis area of D.C., where teachers, other D.C. government workers, and other professionals lived. He felt that he'd accomplished a lot in such a short time. And D.C. seemed to offer more opportunities for young people than Pennsylvania, especially if you were a young black male with little job experience. But being an unmarried, childless man in D.C. had its drama. Many women around his age sought men like him. One woman even accused him of being gay because he was not interested in her. Clyde was not gay. He was selective. He did not want to put in all that work just to squander it on someone who was not willing to work with him. His mother taught him many things, and she'd even cautioned him about the fast Philly girls. To him, D.C. women were not much different. It wasn't like he'd come from some small southern town or some small town in the middle of America. He was from Philadelphia. He recognized game, and did D.C. women have game?
I called you in here because there will be a change in your assignment.
Clyde perked up. He hoped he was not going to be put on the route that would take him through Barry Farms, one of the worst neighborhoods in Southeast D.C. He was currently driving the 70, which ran through Georgia Avenue and the Petworth neighborhood into Silver Spring.
Where are you sending me?
He almost did not want to ask that question.
We're transferring you to the rail system for training.
Clyde's heart leaped with joy. He had applied for training over 2 years ago when he arrived to work on the project.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Now, here are your transfer papers. You are still a Metro employee, of course, and you'll go through a 9-week training.
Mr. Griffin lifted a few documents from a folder and handed them to Clyde.
Thank you so much, Mr. Griffin. I really appreciate this.
Clyde stood and shook the man's hand.
I'm just a messenger. Don't thank me, thank Mr. Devereaux.
That name sounded familiar to Clyde.
Mr. Devereaux?
Yeah, Mr. Devereaux. David Devereaux. You worked with him on the project 3 years ago. He recommended you.
Clyde then remembered how David was always helping young brothers get positions. The man had been with Metro since the early 1960s. He and David had a few conversations. He'd even told Clyde that he had 7 daughters, no sons.
You will be reporting to Mr. Devereaux for your training. He's on the red line currently.
Mr. Devereaux is a train operator?
Yes, sir. One of the best. You're in good hands. Trust me on that, son.
Mr. Griffin gave Clyde the address where to report and handed him a parking pass for that area so that he would not be ticketed. It was only a pass used during his training, however. After that, he would have to figure it out. Clyde was delighted. He had a slight bounce in his walk as he headed to his 1978 Toyota Tercel. He was financing that car for $100 a month. It wasn't a big car, but it was his, and he was not walking. He tossed his work bag onto the back seat and headed to Northwest D.C., where the training facility was at the time. He entered the building and headed up to the training room. There were 7 other young men and surprisingly a young woman at the training facility. Mr. Devereaux entered the room. He was a very light-complexioned black man with thick curly hair, a mustache goatee, and stood 6 feet with a lean build. He greeted the students.
Welcome to Metro Rail Training. Sit anywhere you like and make yourself comfortable, and we'll get started. The bathrooms are down the hall to the left. The canteen is to the right at the end of the hallway, and the payphones are near the canteen.
Mr. Devereaux's assistant was an older woman who was about 50-ish. She passed out large textbooks, booklets, and notebooks and calculators to each student. Clyde wondered if he'd made a mistake. He was expecting to jump right on the train and begin learning how to operate. Oh, but Mr. Devereaux did make it clear that before all that happened, one had to learn the mechanical operations, safety protocol, and mapping systems before they got started operating.
You will be tested every 2 weeks at the end of the week. At week 5, you will begin your operations training, and at the end of week 9, you will be tested on your practical training out on the rails. Any questions?
The room was silent. Mr. Devereaux's serious eyes scanned the room. Clyde wondered if he was looking for signs of uncertainty amongst the group rather than actual questions. He clapped once and said,
Okay, let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. But first, we need to get acquainted with each other.
Clyde only knew one other guy in the group. DC was so big and there were so many bus routes that you couldn't possibly know every driver within a short time. And 3 years certainly was not enough time. By the end of 2 weeks, Clyde was feeling quite confident. His weeks only consisted of going to classroom training and studying in the evenings. He would sit up for hours studying, determined to become a Metro Rail operator. The money was excellent. His phone rang around 9 p.m. one night.
Hello?
Clyde? Hey, where have you been? I haven't heard from you or seen you, spoke the female voice on the other end. Mind you, caller ID was not common in 1979, so he had no idea who was calling.
Who is this?
You don't remember me? I'm Sharon. Sharon who? He wondered.
Sharon?
Yeah, I used to ride your route until you changed. Themis told me you're on another route.
So, how did you get my number?
Well, I asked Themis about you, and he gave me your number. Clyde knew he would have to have a talk with Themis about that. Although D.C. was a large city, the residents seemed to have the same nosiness and messiness he had found Southerners to have. Whenever he visited his mother's people in Georgia, everyone knew everyone's business. Everybody's phone numbers got passed out without the permission of the person whose number they wanted to share. Clyde could not relate to that. In Pennsylvania, the rule was you minded your business and you didn't share others' business without a business beatdown. He finally remembered.
Okay, Sharon. Okay. How are you doing, Sharon?
I'm well. I'm teaching at Van Ness Elementary School now.
Oh, okay. That's great to hear.
Thank you. Now, how have you been?
I'm well. I'm in a training class.
Training for what? What kind of training? She asked, and there was that nosy prying again.
It's a job-related training, just a little something, you know.
For like a supervisory position?
Well, something like that. But, listen, I was actually studying for a test when you called.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, you can call me back. My number is 678-4407. He jotted it down, but did not have any intentions of using it.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep in touch.
And he knew that was a lie. Okay, good to hear your voice, Clyde. Clyde was often told as a young person that he sounded older. The depth of his voice used to drive the girls crazy, even girls he did not know. Those who had heard his recorded voice on the radio singing with the guys who drove themselves crazy buying their 45 records, they'd never created an entire album, by the way. He often wondered what the guys were up to. The four of them had not been in the same room for 5 years now. He and Tommy talked from time to time whenever Tommy visited D.C., and Tommy was currently dating a girl down in Virginia Beach, where he lived. He resumed his studying, finally pushing other thoughts from his mind and concentrating on work. The salary of a Metro Rail operator was great. He could make many moves with a salary like that, and some woman chasing him would knock him off his game. He had to remain focused. The problem he had seen with older men was that they were too busy chasing hoes than stacking dough. That would not be him. He had struggled enough as a kid. Opportunities like this one did not come every day. By week 6, the class, having passed all of their written exams, entered the second phase of training, learning how to operate the trains. Everyone was assigned to a trainer, and to Clyde's own delight, he was assigned to none other than, yes, you guessed it, David Devereaux. He would learn later that Devereaux had suggested him, and being a trainer and supervisor, he could make any demand he wanted. He had seen something in Clyde that he had seen in himself: ambition. David first trained him on train navigation. There were many turns through tunnels and above ground, and one wrong move could cause the operator to collide with an oncoming train or skip track. So, the train rumbled out of the tunnel and was overhead, where Clyde could see the I-495 highway. By the end of the day, Clyde was feeling confident, but not too confident, because David made sure he stayed humble.
You ever thought about getting back into the music business, Clyde?
David had asked once they took a break. That question took the younger man for a loop. He was eating his sandwich in the break room. He looked up at his trainer, perplexed.
Sir? You're one of the Midnight Velvets, ain't you?
Clyde wondered if David was asking him that to try and figure out if he would be a long-term operator or run at the first opportunity to become famous again.
How did you know I was... I been knew it back when you first started on the project, son.
Now, he wondered why David did not tell him that back in 1975 when they first met.
Well, sir, I haven't had much aspiration to return to the music industry. Just gave on up, huh?
David said that almost humorously, which made Clyde chuckle a little.
No, I just need to support myself. I would probably starve if I chased that dream. Dream? I see. What? Are you saying I should? I'm saying you should do whatever you're designed to do. You married? No, sir. Children? No, sir. Sounds like to me you can go further than a lot of young men your age. Your wings are not clipped, they're powerful. To be honest, Mr. Devereaux... Call me David. Okay, all right. To be honest, I never really gave up the desire to sing again, just that the reach is unrealistic. What's really making you apprehensive? Well, for one, the industry is ruthless. Not all of them are. You've never been out there, sir. No disrespect. You ever heard of First Delegation?
David used to sing in clubs, had released a single back in the 1950s during the mid-20s, but he did not tell Clyde that. That is not where his focus was at the moment.
You mean First Delegation as in Yolanda, Cartier, and Tessa? Them girls? Yeah, they're my daughters. Their uncle owns the label. He's a benevolent man. He didn't like me much because things didn't work out with me and his sister because I couldn't stop being a dog back then. But I've learned.
You mean first delegation are your daughters?
That's what I said, ain't it?
Clyde then recognized something about Yolanda that strongly resembled David. It was her eyes.
So you encouraging me to sign on with Preston Records?
I'm encouraging you not to throw in the towel just because something seems unrealistic. It's the principle, son.
So how can I do that and operate a train?
You're limiting yourself. You have no wife or kids. What's your life like after work? But I'll be honest, kid, you will eventually have to give up one or the other if things do work out over there at Preston if they sign you up.
Clyde thought about it. What would it hurt if they signed with Preston Records and recorded maybe one album?
Listen, Norman Preston is a good man. I consider him my brother-in-law. And I believe he takes care of his art.
Well, of course, they're his nieces.
You think those are the only singers signed to his label? But it's up to you. You're young, single, no children. You can go places your peers can only dream of. It's more of a reality to you than it is a dream.
David left the break room, leaving Clyde with his thoughts and a half-eaten ham sandwich. As soon as Clyde reached home, he made determined strides to the phone and called Tommy, thankful he had long-distance service. He postponed his normal ritual of showering, fixing dinner, and studying after work. There was no answer. Dang! He slammed the phone down on the cradle. He decided to call Vernon. Jennifer answered the phone.
Hey, Jennifer, this is Clyde.
Clyde? Clyde?
Yeah, your husband's former bandmate.
Oh, Clyde! How are you? He rarely called Vernon, and that's what threw Jennifer off.
I'm well, and you?
I'm good. I'll get Vern for you, okay?
Man, what's up? I hope you're calling because you're telling me you run 10 mil in the lottery down there in D.C. No, it's something way more interesting than that. You know the group, First Delegation.
Yeah. Vernon thought Clyde was about to tell him that he had met them. After all, they did live in the same city.
So their father is my trainer for Metro Rail.
Oh, you training for the rail? Oh, man, that's good. Vernon was also a bus driver in Philadelphia, so he and Clyde had a lot in common in that regard.
Yeah, their dad is my trainer. We had a conversation today about the fact that their uncle owns the label that they're with, and he suggested we talk to Mr. Preston about signing on.
Whoa, Clyde, back up. You're going way too fast here.
No, man, please just listen. What could it hurt if we sign on and record maybe one album? Just one. It might be fun after all.
No, well, you know what? All that happened with Fidel Records, I'm not so eager.
Vernon, I don't think David would suggest that if it wasn't true. After all, his own daughters are on that label. I trust what he says about Norman Preston.
Vernon allowed Clyde's words to sink in. Clyde waited for a response for what felt like 30 minutes before Vernon finally said,
Okay, sounds like it couldn't hurt, but let me talk it over with my wife first.
Life had been great with Jennifer. She was a loving, understanding, and supportive woman, and he had 3 beautiful girls. What he was not going to do was put all his eggs in one basket and do something stupid like quitting his job. He had plenty of vacation leave. He could make this an adventure for the family whenever he would have to record and take them with him when he traveled.
Sounds fair, I understand.
Clyde said, hoping Jennifer would support her husband. Clyde hung up and called Herbert and gave him the whole spiel about meeting David and their conversation. Long silence, hung between the phone lines before Herbert said anything.
You know what? I'm in.
Clyde thought his ears were playing tricks on him.
You what? You in?
Yeah, I'm in, man. I'm in. And if this proves to be successful, I'm leaving the garbage business.
Man, you always been crazy.
Crazy serious. Crazy serious. You know I've often played in my head how we could make a comeback.
Herbert had endured enough jokes and public shaming.
And how did it all play out in your head?
All my thoughts hit a brick wall. I even thought about calling Mr. Gordon.
Well, you know he's out there making movies now.
Yeah, that's what stopped me from calling. Because I'm no actor.
Man, you still got it.
Yeah. So do you sing anymore? Because I'm going to reignite my pipes. I'm ready for this. I got to quit smoking weed too, man.
Okay, tell you what. Since you don't work on weekends, and right now I'm in Metro Rail training, and I don't either, why don't you come down and we hang out?
Oh, congratulations, man. Yeah, I can drive down this weekend.
That's what's up. But do me a favor.
For sure. What's up? What?
Try to get Vern to come down with you.
Hey, you talk to him? Or should I break the news here?
I'll talk to him first.
What about Tommy?
I haven't been able to reach him yet, but I'll try him again when I get off the phone with you.
All right, I'll talk to Vern.
Clyde figured if Herbert was on board, he could win Vernon much easier. Chapter 12. Tommy arrived at his condo around 5 in the evening. It was nearing the end of the school year, and he was looking forward to a break. However, no matter how tough teaching was, the rewards did pay off. He taught U.S. government for 12th graders, and so far, he would see the second round of graduating students he'd had a hand in assisting to get them their education. That was a reward. His mother had instilled in him the benefits of education. She always said, "They can take everything from you except what you have stored in your mind. Remember that, son." He took trips to Philly often to visit her. A few of those times he had been able to hook up with Vernon and Herbert, but over the last year he had not been able to make it home. Virginia Beach was about 6 hours from Philadelphia driving. He opened his briefcase and removed documents. It was late May 1979, and some of the students were working on their finals. He loved seniors because they were so serious about finishing school and they didn't have time to play around. He had 4 different classes, each class containing about 30 students. He headed to the kitchen, grabbed the leftover spaghetti. A teacher named Crystal Wright had brought a container of it to school. She had been trying to win him over since the beginning of the school year, and he was beginning to like her. Tommy was not married, and he did not have any children. He was only 24 years old and felt he had plenty of time to ponder that. For now, he was building his life. He headed over to the living room where the phone was placed on the glass and brass table.
Hello?
Hey, Tommy.
What's going on, Clyde?
Clyde gave him the entire spiel about having met David and Preston Records.
What? You actually met the father of them fabulously beautiful girls?
Tommy had always had a crush on Cartier, but he later found out she was only about 17 or 18. He had to force down his hormones. They were young, and his mind had no business going there. The difference between a man and a boy was that a man knew how to control himself inside and out. But Cartier, being the second eldest of the group, looked older than Yolanda, and everyone considered her sexy. Even many young women wanted to be her.
Yeah, he's my trainer. Would you believe he suggested we make an appointment with Preston Records?
Why? Why? He knows who you are?
Yeah, he said he knew 4 years ago, but he didn't say anything until now.
So are you going for it?
Yeah, well, I was calling you to tell you that we all should. I talked to Herbert. He's on board. Herbert said he talked to Vernon after I did, and Vernon decided to join. We're just making an appointment to meet with the label. You on?
Clyde, I can't, man. Remember what happened to you?
Forget what happened to me. Norman is not Ben Jefferson. David wouldn't have his daughter signed to that label if that was the case.
We've been out here this long. Why now, Clyde? Why? Why now? We're old now.
We're in our 20s, and we need to strike the iron while it's hot. That label is new, and they are looking for talent. That gives us an advantage. We can do a couple of albums. It wouldn't hurt.
Clyde, I like being a teacher.
Yeah, teaching a bunch of students that called you a has-been, right?
I did not tell you that for you to throw it back up in my face, man.
I'm sorry. You know I shouldn't have said. I'm sorry, Tom. I should not have said that. But think of this as an option, or at least a secondary thing to do. The summer is coming. You'll have time.
Well, Crystal wanted me to go up to Chicago with her this summer.
That English teacher?
Clyde asked, was Tommy serious? He viewed her as pushy, according to the things Tommy had already told him. He also wondered if Tommy was using this as an excuse. How many men use their wives and girlfriends as to the reason they could not do something?
Yeah, man, I'm beginning to dig her, you know.
I understand, but please think about it. It's Tuesday, and you got until Saturday. The guys will be in D.C. Saturday. I'll show them the town, and we'll meet the label. It couldn't hurt to at least meet them or come to D.C. and enjoy yourself. Man, it'll be nice for us guys to be together.
Thanks, man, but I'll think about it. I appreciate you including me.
Clyde hung up, some of his excitement having been quelled by Tommy's refusal, but he did not want that to stop them from trying. David had fueled his hope that this could work. He called Herbert.
He said no? Why?
Herbert asked.
I don't know. He said he liked being a teacher.
Man, that's insane. What?
Maybe it's not crazy to him, but I tell you what. We cannot let this stop us. If it ends up being the three of us, so be it. We can sing, and Vernon can do falsetto.
Yeah, he can, but he doesn't croon like Tommy, though. Tommy got that Russell Tompkins style, that Eddie Kendricks effect. You know what I'm saying?
But he can learn. He can practice. He's got the voice. He can practice and train more.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Clyde. I'm still in. And I know Vern is too. Let's do this.
And that is all Clyde needed to hear.